Things that people have said about defending in FM24. We can't keep a clean sheet. 3-2 is the most common scoreline. Our defending is complete shambles. And I've said them all myself, I think, in playing the first month of this game. But today we are going to show you that how, with just a couple of clicks and a little bit of research, you can turn all that around and become the best defending team in your league. Let's go and kick some balls. Hello and welcome back to Understanding Football Manager with Old Man Phil. And if you are a brand new visitor, I'm Phil and welcome to the channel. And today we're going to be looking at that ancient art of defending and how difficult it seems to have been for people at the beginning of FM24. And as people have started to work out how to defend a little better, I'm just going to show you today that with a couple of clicks and a little tiny bit of research, you can actually save yourself a lot of grief and become the best defending team in your league. It's quite simple in order to achieve it. It did take some working out, but as you can see at the moment in my Notts County save, which we're doing in a live stream, and it's a lot of fun, and we do it Tuesday nights and Thursday nights and Sunday nights, so why not pop along and join us and see what we get up to when we're doing this live stream with Notts County. And having won the title last season with them in League 2, we got promoted to League 1, but we had a problem that we had no transfer budget and we had no wage budget. And I was wondering how on earth we were going to survive in League 1. But we've got off to a great start, as you can see, and we are sitting in second place after 8 games, and we have only lost 1 game in the league, and I think we were cheated in that one. But more importantly, in terms of goals conceded, we have only conceded 4 goals in 8 games, and we are the best in terms of goals conceded. And so defensively, we are playing extremely well. And that was simply not the case last season, and those who have been following along will know that on many occasions I accused my defence of being the worst defence that I'd ever had the privilege to manage. They were chronic. And so I was wondering, having been promoted to League 1 and with no money to play with, how on earth I was going to get better defensively. And so I had to do a little bit of research, came up with a solution, and boy, has it worked. I've since applied it in my other save at Hiroshima, and we are the best defensive team there as well. And I have applied it just for a test with an Arsenal team that I have been working with, and they've gone on to be the best in the league in terms of goals conceded, the best defence. So today we're going to find out how exactly we do that. In order to figure this out, I had to get to grips with why teams score goals against us. And they either score goals against us from set pieces through moments of brilliance, either as a team or individuals, or mostly by mistakes that are made by our own team. So I was never going to eliminate moments of brilliance from the opposition, but I could cut out the amount or reduce the amount of mistakes that our own defence makes. And that is what we focused on, and we have applied the principle of if you can't do it, don't do it. And so, if we are applying a principle of can't do it, don't do it, what are we talking about? We are talking about the tactic. And today, this is going to be part of a 3-part series in which we are looking at defending and attacking. And we're looking specifically today at defending. And of course, defending will take place across all 3 screens of your tactic. But today, we're just going to be looking at one particular screen, which is going to give you the best results as quickly as possible. And if you make some changes according to what you can and can't do in that screen, you're going to improve your defensive performance by a huge amount. And so we've seen Notts County and how we have improved them defensively, that they have become the best in the league, having only conceded 4 goals this season. Let's have a look at another couple of examples. Let's first go to my other main save, Hiroshima. And here at Hiroshima, we are currently in our 3rd season. We began in Indonesia, but we've moved on since to Japan. And we're doing extremely well, and we're winning a lot of trophies here in Asia, and it's a lot of fun. So why not join us on this save? And we upload videos on that Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. So hopefully we'll see a few more of you for these videos, and I look forward to interacting with you all in the comments. But it wasn't always plain sailing here, and we were defensively struggling, as we have at Notts County. County. But as you can see now, since we've made some changes, we are now scoring goals for fun, and we're also the best in terms of goals conceded. Defensively, we are absolutely solid at the back. The difference between Hiroshima and Notts County is that we are scoring a lot more goals, and there are reasons for that which we will look at in a future video when we look at attacking. But here we are focused on defence, and as you can see, we've conceded all season in 37 games, only 25 goals, and we are the best defensively in the league. And finally, I've done a couple of little tests with Arsenal, and this is the continuance of a save that I set up to prove that the 4-1-2-2-1 tactic still works in FM24. And I have done two continuances with this Arsenal team. Firstly, as I had originally set them up, and then with the couple of clicks that we're going to make in the tactics screen. And so firstly, continuing on as they had been playing as we had set them up. After moving on a couple of months, we can see that we are third best in the league in terms of our defending. But if we have a look at how we performed after making the adjustments in the tactics screen, this time, moving on a couple of months, we improved dramatically. And not only have we moved up from third to first in the table, but we are now best in the league in terms of goals conceded. We are best still in terms of goals scored, but we are now the best defensive team in the league. And so we need to look at what changes have we made in our tactics screen. One of the reasons why teams will score goals against us is because we will, in our own efforts to attack, inadvertently leave space either behind us or in midfield, which the opposition teams can exploit. If we are too gung-ho about our approach in terms of our attacking play, then the space that we are leaving behind us is going to be exploited. And so in the tactics screen today, we're just going to be looking at the middle screen, the in transition, because it is in transition where we are going to give away space and where things are going to get particularly dangerous in terms of conceding goals. And it's very important to recognize the things that we can do and we can't do in this screen. And I do know that most people will come along to their tactics screen and they will just click on these two boxes without even thinking about whether or not their team is able to do either of these things. And yes, even counter-attack. Your team has to have the correct attributes in order to be able to counter-attack. It definitely needs to have the right attributes in order to counter-press, and these will of course include work rate, stamina, aggression, acceleration, and possibly even anticipation. And without those attributes in abundance, teams are not going to be able to counterpress. And therefore, if you are going to attempt to counterpress when they can't do it, they're simply going to be running all over the pitch and losing their shape and creating space behind them. Teams are going to be able to beat our press, to pass around it, to pass over it, if we are not good at doing it. It's very, very important to know that you actually can counterpress before you actually click this button. And the same applies to counter-attacking. If you're not capable of counter-attacking, then don't counter-attack. Things that you will need to counter-attack include passing, acceleration and pace and off-the-ball movement. But if, for example, you have poor off-the-ball or poor passing, or you don't have the pace to get on the end of the ball, then what might happen is that when you are going forward, you might end up losing the ball. And when all your players have bombed up the pitch, then suddenly you might find yourself vulnerable at the back and in trouble because you have left far too much space. Once you get out of shape, then you could be in trouble. And so it's very, very important to have those attributes that you need for counter-attacking before you click this button about whether or not to counter-attack. And when I went to the squad planner and looked at the attribute values for Notts County, it was pretty clear that they have absolutely no ability to actually counter press, and the mentals that are required are extremely low, and the technical ability is extremely low. In fact, the only thing really that Notts County could do was actually pass the ball, and their average ratings for this in terms of the team's ability to pass is actually quite low. It's only 11.43. I guess that is okay for League Two, but only okay, because 11.43 is not an indication that you are good at passing. It means that the rest of the teams in League One are worse than you at passing. It does not mean that you are great at passing. And so when we set up the tactic and when we look at that later, this will have an effect on how we actually set up our attacking style. But in terms of counter-attacking, we can clearly see that we are not good enough to counter-attack. We lack the pace and the acceleration in order to counter-attack really well. And so we can't do it. And similarly, we are not able to counter-press. And so we are just deciding to leave those two things off. Now, you might say if we're particularly bad at doing something, we should regroup or hold our shape. But I don't think that is necessary. And I would only use those when we are holding on to a very slender lead at the end of a game. So for most occasions, it's just turn off the counter-press and turn off counter-attack. Now, that does not mean that your team is not going to counter-press. It does not mean that your team is not going to counter-attack. It just means that it's not going to do it all the time. And it means that we're going to probably take a more sensible approach to it, and that we will balance the way that we play, making sure that we leave players at the back in case we lose the ball in transition. And one of the most dangerous things in FM is losing the ball when you are going forward. And so what you can do to improve your defensive quality immediately is to turn off these two things. And it's not just about being poor at it. And we saw in the case of Arsenal that when we told them not to counter-press and when we told them not to counter-attack, they actually performed better. And so therefore, when you go further down the leagues, you're obviously not going to be able to counter-press, you're not going to be able to counter-attack, so don't ask your team to do it. This is also about training, and as your team gets better and as it gets more used to each other and your players get better, you're going to be able to counter-attack more, you're going to be able to counter-press more. These are a function of attacking as well as defending, and so it's really about a balance of risk in that respect. And when you are not great at things, you want the balance of risk to be towards the defending rather than the attacking. And when your players get better at doing particular things, you want the balance of risk to move upwards towards counter-pressing or counter-attacking. But when you're in lower leagues, definitely have these turned off. And when you are a good team, have them turned off to begin with. When they're trained, turn them on. As a good team, once you've turned these on, you're going to score more goals, but you may concede more. But this is all about balance of risk and expectation of supporters and the board. And so by leaving these two things off, counter-press and counter, we have improved the results. We have improved the defending of all our saves, whether it be Notts County, whether it be in Hiroshima, or whether it be with that very good Arsenal team. Turning them off has allowed us to defend a lot better. But there is one thing you need to be very careful in regard to. When you are looking at this team report, when you are looking at the report for the attributes that your team has, and you can see that we are pretty poor here at Notts County. How we are in second, I don't know, but we are performing very well. Maybe because we are looking at these sensibly and applying them within our tactic. But you will think that passing is something that we can do. And in terms of passing, we are the best in the League One, and we have a passing average rating of 11.3. Now, that does not mean that we are good at passing. It just means that we are the best in the League One at passing. But it does mean that the rest of the league are absolutely dreadful at passing. If we are going to be the best with 11.3, the rest of the league are dreadful. That does not mean that we are very, very good passers of a ball, and therefore we have to set our tactic up with that in mind, not the fact that we are the best in the league. And we'll come to that in a later video when we consider our attacking play. Being the best in the league does not make you a great passing team. And that will apply across all the other attributes. I would say that to be a very good passing team, you'll need to be around about 13.5 or 14. Anything below that means that you can't pass the ball very well. And so you have to adjust your tactic accordingly. Whether you are in a higher league or whether you are down in the Vanarama, being the best in your league does not mean that you are extremely good at that particular attribute. Be very careful when you're interpreting this. And so that's it for now. If you do want to improve your defense, then the first thing to do is to look at this screen. And the first thing to realize is that you may not be great at counter-pressing and you may not be great at counter-attacking. And if you have those switched on, then you may be allowing the opposition a lot of space in transition, and they are putting this space to great use. And so really it's about balance, and balance between attacking and defense. And by having these switched off, you'll have a better balance between attack and defense. You will not be taking too many risks, and therefore you'll not concede as many goals as you will if they're switched on. And that's it for this video. If you're brand new to the channel, you like FM content, you love to see people suffer playing this game, you're in the right place. Give us a big like, and while you're at it, why not subscribe so you'll be informed when all our other videos are uploaded. Hit that bell so that you'll be notified when all the other videos are uploaded. And so that's it, and all that remains to be said now is stay safe, defend well, and we'll see you in the next video.